Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing good. In this video, I will take you through the current affairs from 5th of July to the 10th of July. So let's begin. Now, Karnataka's Sini Shetty has been crowned Femina Miss India 2022. Sini Shetty has won the title of Femina Miss India 2022, and she will now represent India at the 71st Miss World pageant. Femina Miss India 2022's first runner-up is Rubal Shekhawat from Rajasthan, while the second runner-up is Shinata Chauhan, who hails from Uttar Pradesh. Very quickly about Sini Shetty students. She hails from Karnataka. She was born in Mumbai in 2001. The 21-year-old holds a bachelor's degree in accounting and finance and is currently pursuing a course in Chartered Financial Analyst, students CFA. Next, students, very unfortunate, former Japan Prime Minister Shinzo Abe passes away after being shot. Shinzo Abe, former Japan's Prime Minister, was shot during an election campaign in Western Japan's Nara city. The Nara Fire Department had earlier said that 67-year-old Abe was in cardiopulmonary arrest before he was taken to the hospital. And Shinzo Abe, students, he was Japan's longest serving prime minister until he resigned in 2020. And it was the first assassination of a sitting or a former Japanese premier since the days of pre-war militarism in 1930s. Now, the police said that a 41-year-old man suspected of carrying out the shooting has been arrested. And according to the Japanese public broadcaster, the suspect identified as Tetsuya Yamagami as telling the police he was dissatisfied with Abe and therefore wanted to kill him. Next, students, Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveils a 30-feet statue of freedom fighter Alluri Sitarama Raju. Now, students, this is a 30-feet bronze statue of Alluri Sitarama Raju, and this was unveiled at Bhimavaram in Andhra Pradesh, East Godavari district, on the 125th birth anniversary of the freedom fighter. Very important, students. There could be a question on this, that whose 125th birth anniversary are we celebrating this year? And as you know, we are celebrating the 75 years of India's independence, and that Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav is sort of going on, and this is a part of that celebration. So this also marks the 100 years of Rampa Kranti, students, which was a very important movement during the Indian national struggle. Now, very quickly about the Alluri Sitarama Raju. So he was born in present-day Andhra Pradesh in 1897 and 1898, and he's known for leading guerrilla resistance against the British in the region at the very early age, students. And at the age of 18, he became a sannyasi and began visiting the hill and tribal areas of region. And Raju was not a tribal himself, but he had this great ability to lay in bringing people from various backgrounds together for the anti-colonial cause. And he was eventually captured by the British and executed in 1924. Moving on, students, India's service sector activity grew at its fastest rate in 11 years, students. So it seems that the service sector is now fast recovering from the COVID-19 impact. And in June, the services industry in India had its highest level of activity in 11 years because to growing demand, capacity development, and favorable economic conditions. The S&P Global Purchasing Managers Index, students, the PMI index, very important index to measure the industrial activity, and it increased to 59.2 in June from 58.9 in May, which is the highest level since April 2011, students. That means in the past 11 years, this is the highest activity by the Indian service sector, and the results demonstrate and are an evidence of a solid rebound in the service sector, which is reflected in the good GST receipts. Now, at the end of the first fiscal quarter, service companies noticed a significant increase in the volumes of new business, students. So there's new business that is, getting generated for the service sector, and businesses were successful in obtaining new businesses while raising the prices, students. So they've been able to, start new businesses, generate new business, as well as raise the prices. The selling price has also increased. which shows that it just reflective of the increased consumer sentiment also. The poll found that rising inflation persisted as a problem, students. However, rising inflation has been a problem. We all know that that's not something, like I said, unique to India. That's a worldwide phenomena, the rising inflation, and persisting rising inflation has been a problem for companies. And 1/5 of the firms questioned reported higher expenditure, while the other 4 indicated no change. So basically, the total rate of input cost inflation has remained very high by historical standards also, students, although there's been a slight moderation in the month of June. So businesses therefore remain concerned about the forecast for commercial activity over the coming years due to persistent inflation. The service economy as a whole had sharper price rises, with the biggest gains in transportation, information, and communication. So basically, these 3 industries are, driving the growth: transportation, information, and communication. Next, students, Smriti Irani and Jyotir Aditya Scindia get additional charges of Minority Affairs, Ministry of Steels, respectively. So Union Minister Smriti Irani and Jyotir Aditya Scindia have been assigned additional charges of Minority Affairs. So Smriti Irani has gone on to become the head of Minority Affairs, and Jyotir Aditya Scindia, the head of Ministry of Steel. After 2 union ministers, Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi and Ramchand Prasad Singh, resigned from the Union Council of Ministers with immediate effect. So, like the news goes that Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi is probably the vice president candidate of BJP. So it is for this reason that he's resigned. Next, students, Boris Johnson resigns as United Kingdom Prime Minister. So United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced his resignation as Conservative Party leader after he was abandoned by his close allies in the wake of a series of scandals that rocked his government, triggering a leadership election for a new Tory leader who will go on to become his successor. So we all know that Boris Johnson has been embroiled in a series of scandals and controversies. And therefore, he has resigned, his step down, and Johnson will remain in charge at 10 Downing Street. That's the official address of the Prime Minister of United Kingdom, until the process of electing a new leader is completed. So a new leader has not been appointed yet. It is not very clear who's going to be the next leader, but it is expected to be soon, students. Now, why is Boris Johnson resigning? Johnson's resignation comes after he weathered numerous scandals during a tumultuous 3-year in power in which he brazenly bent and sometimes broke the rules of British politics. And he survived a no confidence vote last month, students. However, recent revelations that Johnson knew about sexual misconduct allegations against a lawmaker before he promoted the man to a senior position in his government led to Johnson's resignation. Next, students, Haryali Mahotsav to be organized by Ministry of Environment. So Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change will be organizing Haryali Mahotsav on 8th of July. So they have basically already organized this. And the Mahotsav is being organized by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change in collaboration with state governments, police institutions, and schools of Delhi for undertaking plantation drives on the occasion, students. So this was organized on the 8th of July by the Environment Ministry, and it was done in collaboration with state governments, police institutions, and schools of Delhi. Ceremonial plantation drives are being organized with participation of 75 Nagar ones throughout the country, police stations, schools in Delhi NCR, and 75 degraded plantation sites in the different states as part of this Mahotsav. So students, Haryali Mahotsav, it's also known as the Tree Festival, is being organized to create awareness about the importance of trees in sustaining not only the life of the present generation, but also to secure the future of forthcoming generations, students. So basically it is being targeted at fighting the climate change, protecting the environment, sustainability, such that we don't compromise the ability of the future generations to meet their needs. And trees play an extremely important role in mitigating the adverse effects of climate change. This Mahotsav is being perceived as an effective tool to instill enthusiasm among masses for forest conservation. So if you notice here, students, this initiative, it doesn't involve the authorities alone, the government alone, but they've also tried to bring in, get the civilians, the common people, the school, the children, students, to come together and contribute their bit in carrying out the plantation drives. And we need more such drives if we want to really meet our commitments towards climate change, fighting climate change. And so basically it is to make people recognize the crucial role greenery or forests play in maintaining the ecological balance and providing many ecosystem services to the planet. Next, students, India's first autonomous navigation facility, Pihan, launched at IIT Hyderabad. So this is India's first autonomous navigation, students. Autonomous navigation would, it's like a futuristic technology that can, it's like an harbinger, or it can usher the era of self-driven cars. So India's first autonomous navigation facility, Pihan, inaugurated by Union Minister of State for Science and Technology, Jiten Singh, at IIT Hyderabad campus. It was developed at a budget of rupees 130 crores by Union Ministry of Science and Technology. And it is a multidisciplinary initiative that will make India a global player in the futuristic and next generation smart mobility technology. And India's mobility sector, students, we know it is one of the world's largest market, and Pihan IIT Hyderabad will be a source of futuristic technology generation for autonomous vehicles. Next, students, PT Usha and Ilayaraja among 4 nominated to Rajya Sabha. So the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party has nominated 4 noted personalities from southern states to the Rajya Sabha. And the move is being seen as BJP's attempt to make inroads into the South India, the party's final frontier that it still has to conquer. So BJP is relatively weak in the southern states, and this is being seen as its move to make inroads there. And sports icon PT Usha, music maestro Ilayaraja, spiritual leader Virendra Hegde, and screenwriter KV Vijayendra Prasad were the 4 picks of the BJP for Rajya Sabha, students. Now that PT Usha is in the news, there could be a question on her. So very quickly, students, PT Usha, she's popularly known as Payoli Express, students. She is one of India's most iconic sports persons, and she has represented the country and won medals at various international sporting events, including the World Junior Invitational Meet, Asian Championships, Asian Games, and she's also the recipient of Arjun Award and the Padma Shri. Coming to Ilayaraja, he was born in a Dalit household in a village in Madurai district. He is regarded as one of India's greatest music composers, and in 2018, he received the Padma Vibhushan. He has also been awarded the Padma Bhushan. Next, students, some good news coming that India's undernourished population drops to 224.3 million as per UN report. So according to a United Nations report, India's population of undernourished people that has dropped to 224.3 million. And over the past 15 years, students. However, the number of obese adults and anemic women has increased in the world's 2nd most populous nation, students. So even though, so we know that India fights some of the major health problems like undernourishment, then we have got obesity, which is a modern day, lifestyle health issue, and anemic, students. So which is a common problem with women particularly. So students, even though the undernourished people, the number of undernourished people has come down. However, the number of obese adults, very fat, and anemic women, students, that have increased in India. Next, students, Indian American billionaire on Forbes list of America's richest self-made women. So Indian American Jayashree Ullal, students, she is the CEO of Arista Networks, which is an American computer networking company and a member of the board of directors of Snowflake, was ranked near the top of 8th annual Forbes America's Richest Self-Made Women with a net worth of $1.7 billion. Students, very important. This is a business awareness question. You could be asked that who is she, or for that matter, why was she in the news? So there was this, list of America's richest self-made women. It was released in June 2022, and it ranks her at number 15, below Alice Quartz, co-founder of Biorad Labs, and above reality TV star Kim Kardashian. Students, so she's been ranked above Kim Kardashian. And other Indian American women who made it to the Forbes list are Neerja Shetty, co-founder of Sintel; Neha Narkhade, co-founder of former CTO of Confluent, former PepsiCo CEO Indra Nui; and Reshma Shetty, co-founder of Ginkgo Bioworks; and Diana Hendricks, co-founder and chairperson of ABC Supply, topped the list for the year. Very quickly about Jayashree Ullal, students. She was born in London and raised in New Delhi. She studied electrical engineering at San Francisco State University and engineering management at Santa Clara University. She's also the recipient of numerous awards, including ENY's Entrepreneur of the Year in 2015, Barron's World's Best CEOs in 2018, and one of Fortune's top 20 business persons in 2019. Jayashree Ullal. Next, students, R. Dinesh has been named as Confederation of Indian Industry's new president. So R. Dinesh, Executive Vice Chairman of TVS Supply Chain Solutions, has been chosen as the CII, Confederation of Indian Industry's president designate for the year 2022-2023. So Sanjeev Puri, students, Chairman and Managing Director of ITC, was elected as the Vice President of CII at a meeting in New Delhi, and Sanjeev Bajaj, students, Chairman and Managing Director of Bajaj Finserv, will continue to serve as CII President. Some very important names there. You should keep them in mind. You could be asked that who is the new president of CII. Very quickly, what is CII, students? It is Confederation of Indian Industry. It is an advocacy and trade association. So CII, FICCI, NASSCOM, these are basically trade association, students, with its main office in New Delhi, and India was established in 1895. To influence the global, regional, and industrial age agenda, CII works with business, governmental, intellectual, and other leaders of the society, and the organization is based on membership. Next, students, Sri Lankan President Flees away as the protesters invaded the official residence, students. So we all know, students, that Sri Lanka is going through a severe macroeconomic financial crisis. So Sri Lankan protesters broke through police barricades and entered the official residence of the president of Sri Lanka, Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The prime minister has already resigned, students, and now the protesters broke into the official residence of the president, forcing him to fly away. And the president of Sri Lanka had to flee away from his residence as soon as the protesters entered the residence in Colombo. The protesters wanted to express their anger over the government for mismanagement and failure to protect them from the economic crisis. Very quickly about the economic crisis in Sri Lanka, students. So Sri Lanka has a population of 22 million people and it's struggling with the economic crisis. The country has no funds for foreign exchange, limited fuel, food, and medicines. So there's an acute shortage of food, fuel, and medicines because they don't have the requisite foreign exchange to meet some of their basic necessities. And the COVID-19 pandemic made the situation worse as tourism in the country also stopped, which earlier used to contribute a good share to the GDP, and the schools and the government offices are closed till further notice due to shortage of energy. The lack of foreign exchange reserves and local currency depreciation has further aggravated the shortage. Lastly, students, Google has launched Startup School in India, targets 10,000 startups in small cities. So the tech giant Google launched the Startup School India initiative, which aims to gather relevant information on startup, building into a systematic curriculum to help 10,000 startups in tier 2 and tier 3. So basically, This is an initiative to educate and train and empower the startup students. It's like a school. It's like a training center for the startups who, unfortunately, due to lack of funds, sometimes cannot avail education or training. So Startup School is a series of guided online trainings designed to equip early stage startup founders with the tools, products, and knowledge that growing companies need. The curriculum will feature instructional modules on subjects like shaping an effective product strategy, deep dives on product user value, road mapping, product requirement, document development, building apps. So basically, some of the most relevant things for these startups, for example, app development, right? Application development, or for example, documentation, or for example, effective product strategy. With close to 70,000 startups, India is the third largest breeding ground for startups in the world. And as more Indian founders lead their companies successfully to IPO or unicorn status, it has set off a virtuous cycle wherein their success has ignited aspirations among young Indian across the length and breadth of the country. So basically, this period is known as the golden period for the Indian startup students. We know we have got some of the fastest growing number of startups in the country and a lot of companies joining the unicorn status. So this is going to further strengthen the whole startup ecosystem in the country. So that's all for this video, students. I will see you next week with another video on current affairs. Thank you so much.